Hey everyone. So today I just kind of wanted to make a summary on creating components and using props in components in a React app. So to get things started, I need to run npx create react app. I'm going to call this client. And I'm going to press enter. And by the way, I'm just doing this right here on my desktop because I'm expecting it to use the npx build tool to run the command create react app, which is going to build this folder called client with a bunch of stuff that React is going to need to run. So when I hit enter, it's going to take a little bit of time. So you'll see it kind of like hang up, trying to figure out what it's doing. In the editing process, I'm going to speed this all up. So your experience will probably be a little bit faster than, or slower than mine. Okay, all right, so it looks like it finished getting React started with some video editing magic. I'll make sure mine is much faster than yours, so you're probably still through the process here. But let me go ahead and just ls see where I'm at, and I'm going to cd into the client, which is the folder I just created. It's right here. And now I'm going to open it all up with code. And it wrote, you can tell that it wrote a lot of stuff for us. So just to get everything started, let's look in to see where we're at and look at this package.json file, because we'll see that there is a start command. So let's run that, see what happens. npm start. And here we are. We've got our React app. So let's look at what kind of makes these components and what's making this work right now. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to get into source. And of all these different files in here, there's actually a couple you don't need. There's the app.test. We can get rid of that. There is the logo. Let's get rid of that. The setup test.js file, we can also get rid of this. And now if we go into app.js, we can see some of those, what looks like HTML elements that ran that, what we were seeing on the screen. So since we got rid of the logo, let's get rid of this. And in fact, let's just get rid of all this boilerplate code so we can start creating our own. Let's just make it say hello world to begin with. All right. And so when I save it, it's just automatically going to refresh this. So let's follow this and see what we got. Now we just have something that says hello world. Notice it's in the middle though, so there must be some styling that's doing that. If you go into app.css, it starts off with the text-align center, and then it has a bunch of that CSS that was in the boilerplate code. So I can delete that too. And now I should just have a blank app, but I kept the text-align center. So looking at this code, we can see we have one component here that just says hello world. And in fact, if I open this up, if I inspect it, there we go. I can see that component app right here. And let's close this down. And this is that component we were just looking at. See, one of the great things about React is it lets me create my own custom components. So I'm going to go into source, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this components, and then hit enter. Inside, I will create another folder, and let's call this one hello component. Alright, and in fact I'll just copy this so I can go in and create a new file, and for simplicity's sake, let's just call it hello component.js. Now when I get into hello component.js, I can say RFC, which kind of gets things started, but I'm looking for this E. And what that's saying is create React component with an export. And because my file is called hello component, it just automatically goes to hello component. Otherwise, if we called this index.js, if we wanted to import it in a shorter way, this would default to index, and we just have to rename it to what the component folder was called. All right, but in here, let's go ahead and create an h1 element. h1, oop, this should be lowercase. So h1 hello world. This should be lower too. And notice when I'm saving this, this isn't refreshing, but it did when I was in app.js. That's because React is smart enough to know which components are actually being rendered to the DOM. If it's not affecting what's changing in the DOM, then it just won't re-render. I can change that though by saying hello component. Notice how this auto import pops up when I click this, and now let's close it off. So you can see it automatically imported it. And if we called this index.js, it would just mean that we wouldn't need to type that bit in there. But again, just to keep it all uniform, I'll do it this way. All right, and now let's get rid of this hello world text here. And to prove that we have created our own custom component, have it up there, let's go ahead and open up our browser and refresh, and we still see hello world. And just to prove it even more, let's say from custom component. All right, and now it's proven for sure that this is actually coming from our custom component, then being rendered through the app. So let's open this up. You can see here's our component, and there's our hello world. So this is fun, but not everything. Because let's just open this up in split screen here, because to me, what adds to making components so useful is I can pass in props. So let's pass in a prop called name, and inside name I will say dev dude. All right. So what I'm hoping I can do is to pass this value from my app component to this hello component. And to get that to work, I'll need to add props in right here. And then what I'm going to do is say hello from. To use that in here, I am going to open up brackets and say props.name. And I'm saying props.name because I called it name right here, and I'm hoping devdude is what pops up. Bam. So this is cool. But still, not everything in a component and creating our own custom component. So let me show you another thing that's just really interesting about what we can do here. What I'm going to do is, normally when you've seen an HTML element, you've seen it with an opening and closing bracket. So let's close hello world. And let's, so this closing is in the wrong area. So let's add the / here. All right. And now let's say, wow, this is wonderful. So let's save it and open up our browser. and you don't really see anything in here. Well, we need some way for it to append to the end of this. Maybe it'll actually be below it, but we need some way to be able to pass in any kind of custom thing we need inside here and have it show here. It's a very similar process. All I gotta do is say props dot children. And children is built in. So you had to custom build this name. Children is built in as something that's going to come in between one of this component. It's seeing this component as the parent and everything inside the component as a child. But don't take my word for it. Let's open this up. And now we get, wow, this is wonderful. So some really, you can take this some really crazy places if you want. So if you wanted to add a class in here and be able to pass custom classes from inside here, you'd probably do it through props. We have props.children, we're just sending in text, but let's specify that it's going to be an H1. And let's close the H1 right here. And now we know that it's just like any other HTML element. We're passing it off as children using props and building our own custom components. So practice with this. There's endless possibilities in with this. This really opens things up, and it's one of the core feature of React.